Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
My goodness, the Gujarat Titans and their top order, just two needed to take down 200 in some style. KL Rahul's 100 cancelled out by Sai Sudharsan, and Gill played his part as the Titans aim for the summit, and they've just picked up from where they left off in this resumption phase of the IPL. They've hammered the Delhi Capitals. We look back at that game in Delhi on Nexa Presents. ESPN Riggin for Timeout. Tom Moody, Piyush Chawla, Dustin Silgardo. Well, now we know that it was a little bit under par, the 199, but that is an extraordinary achievement, Tom. Sum it up in words, 200 plus without loss in a chase.
Two very, very good players in superb form, meeting a team that's a little bit sort of off-centre with regards to, you know, how they're playing, what their roles are. Their bowling's been compromised with the loss of Stark as a real impact wicket taker at both ends of the innings. And you've got to give credit, that's just a masterclass of, you know, top order batting, really was.
Piyush?
Well, if you look the way they bat, both of them, they make batting look so easy, and they don't even try to hit hard. They just go with basic cricketing shots, and still the way they manage to up the scoring rate, it's like treat to watch.
I mean, I thought this would be a six hit out. They'll out hit the Delhi Capitals for sixes. 10 sixes Capitals, 11 Gujarat Titans. 17 fours, 15 fours. So the Titans have had less fours, just one more six. They've just not had any dot balls. They've done this so easy without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, that's what Gujarat usually do. They usually have a really low dot ball percentage, and it was easy. I mean, I'm just looking at the control percentage, for example. Shubman Gill, 53 balls. He's mistimed 3 balls in his innings. 50 balls off the middle, pretty much. With Sai Sudharsan, it's 52 middle of 61. So, I mean, they just timed everything. It wasn't even a matter of taking chances or risks. They just middled everything.
But that's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to, while chasing 200, miscue some. Bowlers are supposed to be in the game when you've at least got 200. Why were bowlers not in the game?
Because those two quality batters bats the way they are batting. Because how you build the pressure? By bowling dot balls. And those two are so good at it. Not only this game. If you see the other games also where the pitch was little tricky, they're so good running between the wickets. So that really makes the life easier. When you're bowling a good ball as a bowler, you look for a dot ball or a wicket. They turn that into a single, and when there is a ball to hit for boundary, they are never missing those chances as well. So it's not only about this game. I remember one game against KKR when they played at Eden. It was a difficult pitch to bat, but again, Shubman Gill made that pitch look totally different. And when the other batters were batting, it looked like they're batting on a different surface. So that's the quality of these two.
I think the other point to raise is I felt strategically DC got it wrong with their bowling matchups. You know, Natarajan opening the bowling, as long as I can certainly remember, Natarajan is a specialist, maybe bowls the last over the power play, because that's generally the sixth over is a defensive over. An over in the middle as a defensive over if the game's running away from you, and two at the end. That's his role. That's where he's been successful. That's where he's built his reputation. He's opening the bowling. He doesn't swing the ball. Chamira is a new ball bowler. And I know that he has been bowling in the middle phase when Stark was there, but surely Chamira is the one that needs to step up with the new ball because he's familiar with that new ball and he's a threat. So therefore, on your percentages of, you know, middling the ball, if you're not moving it off the straight, you're not going to miss time one ball. So they didn't, you know, to me, they didn't get that quite right with regards to just the bowling deployments.
And sometimes, even the game can also be decided in the first 3 or 4 overs. We were trying to make sense of why DC didn't get to 10 to 15. And we were trying to break our heads on either Rahul or the rest of the batting. But the first 4 overs, Tom, were 19 for 1. Arshad Khan has bowled 2 overs, 1 for 7. Faf has faced 10 balls and got 5. GT, at the end of 4 overs, have got 50 at 49. How you start with the ball sometimes is understated as much as we say how we start with the bat in the power play. And that's the game today, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. And what it shows you is the class of that batting pair. You know, they're proper batters that have got a technique that can weather any storm, but also can, and they've both developed this over time, have learnt how to move through the gears, and now they may have only had 3 gears in previous years. Both of them have got 5 gears they can shift to.
And when you are a Kuldeep or a Vipraj or a Piyush Chawla, you know with Gill and Sai, you don't want them 40 or 50 in 4 overs. Then getting them out is so much harder. You want them to feel like the run rate's 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, because then they get their rhythm going. And the beauty of their batting is they don't play those slog sweep or any fancy shot. They just make sure that they're playing those, cricketing shots. So they're taking very minimum risk and getting the maximum result out of it.
If it's so easy, everyone should play minimum risk cricketing shots and strike at 173.
But I think that the real highlight for me is the partnership between these two and how important partnerships are, because it makes batting easier.
Yeah.
And going back to the point of the first innings with Delhi, and we were debating about KL Rahul and his 100 and all those things, I don't think he had the richness of the partnership that these two had. You need to have it operating at both ends. The same with you might be bowling beautifully from one end, but if you're being let down at the other end, that undermines your effectiveness as a bowler.
Yeah, and this partnership now between Sudharsan and Gill, they've got 839 runs this season. So that's the 4th highest among all partnerships for fall seasons. There was one season ABD and Kohli got 900 plus, that was 2016, and then a couple of others, Faf and Kohli, Conway and Gaikwad, but they've still got games to go, so they're threatening the record now.
Was that 2016?
The Kohli ABD one was, yeah. There was another one in 2019 between Bairstow and Warner.
Yeah.
But they've just passed that now, Sai and Gill.
Tom knew exactly that it was 2016.
Yeah. Did they win the trophy that year?
Who won the trophy
Maybe
that
not.
year?
That red sofa is turning orange with my lack of vision at this hour. All right. Anyway, how are they going to cope without Butler, I wonder?
They had a dress rehearsal tonight. It's a perfect dress rehearsal.
That's what they were preparing for today.
But what confidence this must genuinely give the Titans? Even those two, we thought maybe an element of their batting is, right, they've got Joss to come. Now maybe they'll lose a wicket going forward. Surely they'll lose a wicket going forward. But this must be doing so much. You could see how it got, or the entire dugout. Ashish Nehra seemed even more purposeful when he's like, yes, we've done this. Not just done this, we've done this without losing a wicket.
But he's always purposeful, we have seen that. But the way they both have stretched the partnership, it was really nice to see that they were hardly taking any risk, and Sai Sudarshan was the aggressor to start with, and Shubman Gill was taking his time. And on the other end, when the tournament started, Shubman Gill was batting in a different manner. But now, knowing that there is a lot of responsibility on the shoulder of both these batters once Butler leaves, so that will definitely give a lot of confidence, especially this partnership.
But that is the beauty of a good partnership, is that when someone's not quite hitting their straps early, the other one picks up the weight, and vice versa. And both those players are generally operate at a similar tempo.
Yeah.
But you're not always going to walk out there and middle every single ball and it be your perfect day.
I'd like to go back to the first innings now. And I can't help but think that at this stage, with the stakes so high, especially for DC, with little margin of error, if you give yourself 220, like Punjab did in the afternoon, you give yourself the chance to come back, even if there is a flying start. The asking rate is still more challenging. This is a below par score now. So can we once again point out, even though the bowlers have gone wicketless, and we could easily say that's poor from the bowlers, they should have at least had one breakthrough or bowled better.
By the way, the first time that a 200 or 200 plus total has been chased without a wicket in the IPL. So that's a record too for GT.
Right. In all men's T20s, it's the second time.
Yeah.
And
It's
in the
the first in the
IPL,
IPL, yeah.
it's the first time. History by Gujarat Titans. But just coming back to it, 220, 230. And that too when you're 3 down. Where the overall scheme of things do you sense Delhi fell short with the bat?
We said that they are at least 20 odd runs short, and especially when you lost only 3 wickets. But it comes to that middle order again, because one guy was batting at a strike rate of 170 odd. The other batters, when they were around him, they were batting somewhere around 150. So other players needs to come, take that responsibility and go berserk. Like, you need somebody like Tristan Stubbs who play those big shots. Ashutosh Sharma, he's somebody you can hit the ball. But you have just made him a designated finisher that he'll only face last 20 balls or 15 balls. So you have to get him up the order.
KL Rahul did exactly what Sai Sudarshan and Gill did. Both struck in the 170s. It was the other balls left in the game where Delhi lost this game. That's where they need to be striking a minimum of 170. If you're setting a total as well, and you're feeling it is a good surface on a small ground, you're probably even pushing the boat out even further. And you're asking that, particularly when you've got the depth and the power in that batting, you're asking them to go at closer to 200.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the attacking shot percentage, the other batters apart from Rahul did, at least by our calculation, attack about 53% of the balls they faced. So they did try to attack 1 in every 2 balls. Sometimes it's a case of also not middling it, which, for example, with Aksar, his attacking shot percentage was 69, but he didn't time a lot of his attacking shots. So sometimes it's also that way, you're just not middling the ball when you're looking.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I want to throw the flip side to this, because 199 for 3 tends to make us think that a batting team has not utilized its resources. But how about we try and focus on the quality of the Titans bowling, which may not get you 7 wickets, but enough defensive bowling, enough smart matchups can also lead to 20 less. And would you like to sort of bring that into perspective here? Arshad Khan, Tom, Rashid Khan getting 4 pretty good overs in the context of the game. And even though Sai Kishore may have gone for a few more and Prasidh has gone for 40, you'd sense that they kept the lid on the game not just swinging away for Delhi.
Yeah, Mohammad Siraj as well.
Siraj as well with the new ball in particular.
Yeah, you know, he only went for 37. I say only, but in the context of the game, that's, you know, a good return. Yeah, look, their bowling attack did perform well, but you could also point the finger at a couple that didn't go so well. Rabada, for instance, his return, you know, such a high-profile, high-quality bowler, you know, he's gone at 17 and over for his 2 overs. So they didn't get it absolutely right with their bowling, but there was enough in there to just hold the game, particularly in the middle phase. I think Rashid Khan played an important role there, because you've got to remember, I think Rashid Khan's last ball of that spell went for a boundary as well. Yeah. So, you know, that sort of blew that 32, his return to 32 runs should have been 28.
But I'd like to also think here, and Piyush, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that GT are one of those teams that even if your strike bowler in Rabada, your main bowler, goes for 34 of 2, you have other bowlers that can fill in those overs. I can't imagine a lot of other teams will not bowl Archer's 4 or not bowl Bumrah's 4 or Stark's 4, because you just don't have the other bowling. The other bowlers will come in and also take a pasting then.
We were discussing that earlier once, that they have those good quality 5 bowlers. So if somebody is having an off day, which eventually will happen someday or the other, so you have other bowlers to fill that shoe. And today, if you see Arshad Khan, he just made 2 overs, but those 2 overs were really crucial, because 1 over makes a huge difference in this format. And the way Arshad Khan bowled those 2 overs, and as he mentioned just now about Rashid Khan, those 4 overs are very crucial in that middle phase of the game, where you tend to make or break the game. He came and he didn't get the wicket. So sometimes your bowling analysis doesn't reflect how you bowled, but those 4 overs were very crucial at that point of time. And in these kind of games where you're 20 runs short, you're 15 runs short, so those 1, 2, 3 overs makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And just on Arshad Khan, Raunak, he's played I think 6 or 7 games this season. He's got 5 wickets, but among those 5 wickets, there's now Faf du Plessis, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli. So there's something about him and just getting the big wicket early.
Man, well, Ashish Nehra loves his left-arm bowlers, his fast bowlers. He knows how to get big wickets, but well done, Gujarat Titans. Let's take some questions and comments on our YouTube Live, shall we? Nirmit Shetty says, DC's bowlers haven't picked up a wicket in their last 1.5 innings. Yes, you're going back to the 10 overs against Punjab in a game that's now been wiped clean. Is there anything missing in the wicket-taking prowess of the Delhi Capitals bowling, which on paper is not the worst bowling by any stretch of imagination?
It is not the worst, and especially in a T20 format, you feel that batters are going after you, will get an opportunity, but it just happens sometimes, you know, you don't get wicket, and that's what exactly happening. And using the resources, we know he's a designated, Natarajan is a designated, not a new ball bowler with the old ball or the death specialist. He's bowling with the new ball, and then Chamira didn't bowl with the new ball, as you mentioned earlier. And I think for them, I feel Kuldeep not getting wicket in those middle phases. Dustin will tell me how many wickets he has got in last 6-7 games. I think he hardly got 1 wicket, the guy who started off really well and Mitchell Stark who were picking up wickets for them. So this team was looking brilliant. But now Kuldeep's not getting wicket. Akshar is not very successful with the ball this season. So that's why they are struggling in bowling department big time.
Okay, Kulathamani says GT didn't break a sweat. DC lost this game with their power play batting where they had very little to zero intent. KL, was he guilty of going back to his old ways, especially in the power play earlier up? Scoring big. There are quite a few KL comments. Siddharth Saxena says Dustin is the only one here who makes any sense. That's your friend, isn't he, Siddharth? He says Raunak is very biased towards KL Rahul. Yeah, we've spoken of the KL Rahul. We had a long conversation on this. And Tom and Piyush maintain that you cannot afford the fault at KL. He's striking at 170, as were Gill and Side. It was the rest of the team that didn't fire.
Yeah, I still maintain that.
Yeah.
But particularly when you've still got batting in the shed, you know, and that's a communication thing. Having sat in the dugout for many years, you can see those things unfolding, and you have strategic time outs now, which you know historically you haven't. You know, how long have they been in play? They've been, what, 8 years, 6 years? So at least now you've got a chance to go out in the middle and say, right, okay, you're now taking it, you know, the boundaries, okay? 2 boundaries and over, you've got a target. Try to get them early in the over. Kale, you sit in behind there. If you're finding a boundary, you take it. Otherwise, you keep going, pushing it. But it's the guy at the other end's the one that's really got to push it out, knowing you've got the depth in the dugout to be able to come in and play the same role.
I'm going to come back to Dustin's point to balance it out here. I don't need to. But the fact is that you'd still look at whether both batters have a responsibility to go hard when you're 150, 160 for 2.
Point, I'll just make one more point. Of course, look, when a batter's got 100 plus and the rest of the team have gone at 150, you can't say it's that batter's fault. I totally get that. It's just that, you know, when certain teams, they tend to attack in waves. Like with GT, once one batter goes, they both go. With Delhi, there was a case where there was a period there, for example, where KL went around 10 balls without playing an aggressive shot. And that's because Akshar had been sent in to take down the spin. Fair enough. He's the lefty playing, you know, the matchups. But the question is then, again, should the coaching staff say, no, look, we've got to go hard from both ends because this is a 230, 240 pitch.
Yeah.
Can you afford to, on this pitch, have one guy going hard while the other's job is... And maybe that's the message from the dressing room, that, listen, this is Akshar's matchup. He's got to go. As I said, Akshar, he tried a lot of big shots but didn't middle it. But maybe that's where, you know, the team management needs to say, okay, we have to go from both ends on this kind of pitch.
Were they guilty of just setting too low a target for themselves? Maybe they said, yeah, 200 is good, but you need 220, 230. And were they just guilty of not even aiming for high enough?
Well, they must be thinking it now. But once they finish their batting, they must have thought whatever they must have discussed in their team meetings, that this is the pass score or what could be it. And looking at their bowling attack also, so 200, 220 you need. And like now we all know, it's they were 20 short.
And I think teams can make the mistake in setting targets as well.
Yeah, that's happened quite frequently.
Where you sort of think, oh, there's 200, let's get to 200, we're going to be okay. You don't know whether 200 is the right target. You're making an assumption that it's 200. But you also don't know there's someone in your batting order might come out and have an absolute blinder, like a Romario Shepherd did for RCB, and get 50 off, 14 balls or something. Yeah, you can't, then suddenly it's blown out of the water. So I think by setting a target, you're setting yourself to trip up. And I'd be surprised if they sort of set a target. I just think that was the tempo of their innings, and, the point around the other batters not getting the strike rate that was required was really the costly part of that innings.
Yeah, I mean, just, it's easy to kind of, I guess, look at the numbers and say, okay, there are about 6 or 7 guys who've got 250 plus this season, and some of them have managed to do that, striking at 155-ish. But then those guys are all in the same team. So I guess that makes a big difference, because if you're a GT, you've got Gill, Sudharsan and Butler all getting about 250 runs in the first innings, but doing it at 160 plus. But because they're in the same team, they can do it. Whereas with KL, he's got 306 runs in the first innings for DC, and then the next is 185 Tristan Stubbs. So there's a massive gap. So then maybe he doesn't have the license to play at a higher strike.
I guess certain small, but at the end of the day, where margins are getting shorter, smaller and smaller for teams like Delhi. But even that promotion of Tristan Stubbs, which was brought up by Misty as well here, that why didn't they promote Stubbs ahead of Akshar? That could have been such a key moment in the game. 11th over when Porrell was dismissed.
Well, I would like to see that, but again, as Dustin was mentioning, matchup, like this matchup has come so much into the fashion these days that left arm spinner is bowling, so lefty should go in, and then leg spinner is bowling, then lefty should. But I would still like to see somebody like a quality player, Tristan Stubbs, to come at number 4 maybe, or not number 4. Once 10 overs or 11 overs are done and a wicket falls, he should walk in.
I think it was 12 overs today when the second wicket fell and Aksar came in.
Yeah, and I think you made the point at the beginning of the game that Aksar's strike rate against spin is through the roof.
Yeah, against the ball.
You know,
turning
so
into the wicket,
you can't blame the management for that decision. Because Aksar, you know, is the left-hander. You've got a left-arm bowler that's bowling. His strike rate against spin is, I think you said 190, and against pace it's way down at 120. So it makes sense, that decision. I also understand that Tristan Stubbs, but you can see why you can see the logic in what they were trying to do.
I don't know why, but I just feel like the Titans bowling here, they ensured they never gave 2 overs that cost 20 together, 15 or 15, where momentum could change, where pressure comes and bowlers bowl. Even if they went for a boundary or a 6, which occasionally Aksar got or KL got, they checked out of that over smartly, defensively. You know, Sai Kishore, we noticed an over to Aksar, where Sai Kishore was trying to bowl in his blind side, not really in his arc. So even an over that could be 18-20 becomes a 11-12. I wonder if this game has actually been won on things that don't scream on the scorecard.
High-scoring games are measured by boundaries more often than not. So number of 6s and number of 4s. So dot balls are out of the equation.
Okay.
This venue, given the size of the ground and also the quality of the surface, that's how you tend to judge a performance.
Aditya has made an interesting point that only a team with really aggressive options has a chance against GT. Aggressive bowling. You have to find ways to break that top order.
The point I was going to make earlier is that you look at the bowling attack of DC. Who's taking wickets in the power play?
Yeah, it was mainly Stark.
Yeah.
That's the root of the problem tonight and partly this season, is that they don't have the quality. They did have Khalil last year. Khalil's obviously now with Chennai. Yeah. Khalil's record taking wickets in the power play is extraordinary. So they're missing that. They're missing bowlers like that have got a record of taking wickets with the new ball.
Mukesh Kumar could have been an option, or do you sense they got Chamira right with the selection, but they then didn't use him right?
I feel Chamira was the right call because the last few games, the way Mukesh Kumar bowled, he was not up to the mark what team was expecting from him. So Chamira was the right call, but he was not used tactically well. Yeah,
should have been taking the new ball. Ujjwal says, GT this year reminds me of SRH 2016. Anyone remembers what SRH 2016 was like?
A long time ago.
Very strong bowling and 3 batters just doing the job every day. Was that your team, Tom?
No, it wasn't my team, it was their team.
I'll take one more in just the overall conversation on KL, and I think it's a couple of questions from SKM as well as Harshit Mehta. Leaving aside Rahul's criticism, the questions that they're asking is a 60-ball 100 overall a good enough effort in T20s? 30-ball 50 seems to be a good effort, but the minute you face more balls, 60, 70, do you need to actually have a bigger return? And I think that's a great conversation independent of today's game with KL and the rest of the batting.
Well, it's a good question to ask. That 30-ball 50 is good, but 60-ball 100 is not good enough because you feel the batter is set, he should be going at a higher strike rate. If you see what Sai Sudharsan has done, and we have discussed that point earlier, because from the other end, the helping hand was Shubman Gill, who was also going at a good strike rate, not 140 or not 150. He was going at 170, 175. So when 2 batters bat like that, so things become little easier for both the batters. But at the same time, if one batter is batting at 170 and the other are not helping him, so it makes a difference then.
Yeah, I guess my point is when GT will bat first, and if these two again bat similarly, then GT also will not get 230 or 2. But they will have better bowling.
But they won't bat like this, because you can see in the numbers that Gill has batted consistently faster in the first innings than in the second. I mean, here they have a target in front of them, so
sure, fair enough.
Bat at that rate.
It does it sometimes do a disservice to a batter if he bats too long. Now, let's say he gets out at 70 or 45, and you're thinking that's damn good innings. But the minute he faces another 15 balls and gets 30 runs, it's 100 of 60.
Yeah, and I'll remind you, Sudharsan got his 100 off 56 balls, so only 4 balls off 60. So we can overanalyse and be overcritical.
Yeah, I think we're all spoiled by Abhishek Sharma, 140 of 50, Suryavanshi, 100 of 38, Priyancharya, 100
They're
of 42.
shooting stars. They happen, every now and then. But the reality is, something around 60 is an outstanding IPL 100.
Okay, there you have it. From Tom as well as from Piyush and Dustin. It's time now for our rapid fire review of this game. Let's start with you, Tom. What stands out the most in the levels that Sai Sudharsan and Shubman Gill are reaching?
I think the way they dovetail together as an opening pair, they seem to really understand each other's game. One seems to fall in behind the other if one's really got off to a flyer, so they cover each other, and there seems to be a pattern in that throughout the season, and just their traditional stroke play.
Piyush, what could Delhi have done differently to try and stop GT's openers?
I think tactically, which we have discussed, the Chamira could have been bowling with the new ball, and then Vipraj, who has done decently well in the power play, at least you need a wicket in the power play, so they could have used him. So only these two things, and Stark is a big miss, definitely, because he's somebody who picks up wicket with the new ball, and when you're defending a score, you need wickets up front.
Okay, Dustin, you can take this. What was the biggest factor, do you think, behind Delhi not maximising their total batting first?
I think it was that they went through phases. They had sort of spurts where they attacked and got a flurry of boundaries, but then there were huge spates of like 12, 15 balls where they didn't get a boundary and didn't have enough aggressive shots.
All right. Tom, slow start, less balls for Stubbs or the bowling plans. What do you think hurt Delhi the most today?
I think it would have been nice to see Stubbs come in earlier because we know that his ability to hit sixes and fours is as good as anyone that's playing in this match. But I could understand the AXA entry point purely because of the matchup against spin.
All right. Piyush, rate KL Rahul's 112 not out of 65 balls on a scale of 10.
Well, if I have to scale out of 10, I'll still give 8.
Okay, and you can all chip in on this. Is this the most consistently dominant opening pair we've seen in the IPL? I'll give you some contenders. Bairstow and Warner, Conway and Gaikwad, Kohli and Duplessis, Sai and
it's
Gill.
a third big season in a row, and a lot of their runs have come. I don't know. Tom, what do you think? Are they? I mean, it's hard to.
I think it's hard to argue against the fact that they are the most impactful opening pair.
I feel they are quite impactful, and because they are doing that consistently, not only this season, for the last couple of.
And what I like about this pair is that they play both pace, high quality pace, and spin exceptionally well.
I'll tell you what I can say is that perhaps when you take all Indian pairs, because there's no Indian pair there.
Yeah.
And
This is
the
by
volume.
far the best. I mean, this is the best season any Indian pairs had, I think, by quite a bit.
Extraordinary. The volume of runs they're getting. Extraordinary. And well, that I think will also now, does that confirm GT at least as a playoff team? Yes, certainly, right? 18 points.
They're through.
So they're through, but they're gunning for top 2. So they wouldn't care much of just getting the queue for them. Oh, I think there's one last question. Yes, one last question, which I'll come to. Yeah, Gujarat have qualified, first team to do so. Well done to Shubman Gill, to Ashish Nehra, Sai Sudharsan, Butler, the bowlers, all of them. They've been terrific in this. And I think that result also means that 17 points is sufficient. So Gujarat's win takes Bengaluru and Punjab through to the playoffs. So it's now between Mumbai and Delhi as a shootout. Lucknow are still in it. Let's not forget good old Lucknow Super Giants. They need a lot happening their way. But now Mumbai and Delhi effectively in the best chance to secure that 4th spot. Right, on that note, there's one more thing. Maybe I'll take it outside the rapid fire. But given that they're now on 13 and Delhi have Mumbai and Punjab to play, where do you see them finishing? Tom? And looking at the whole
I don't see them in the top 4.
It's very hard for them to make it to the top 4 now.
Yeah, they won't make it to the top.
Amazing, because this was the first team to get to 10 points this season. 5 out of 5, first time ever, it's just gone. But we'll wait for a couple of games before we hammer down that verdict on them. Right, this is where we say thank you very much to Tom Moody, to Piyush Chawla as well. I think a revised schedule means this might be the last time we see Piyush on the couch. Never know, we'll see how the playoffs go. But PC, I've thoroughly enjoyed your
loved
time.
it.
And I hope to see you back soon.
Yes.
Got you reunited with your coach as well.
That was so kind of you.
Yeah. And Dustin, always good to have you. You're going to be with us for a long time because you're on salary. Right. Thank you very much, Tom, Piyush, and Dustin. We will see you tomorrow. Lucknow Super Giants, Sunrisers Hyderabad. Look forward to your company for build-up just before the toss. On Nexa presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Good night.
Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.